Welcome to the fifth webinar. So today we're going to work on this task 2 question. I'll read the question for you. There seems to be an increasing trend towards assessing students through exams rather than continual assessment. What are the advantages and disadvantages of exams as a form of assessment? When this question is asked, I am thinking that this is an advantage-disadvantage. What I'm thinking of is trying to not only look at exams, but also look at advantage and disadvantage too. Let me just write the introduction and then we will talk about how we're going to set up the rest of the essay, okay? So for the introduction, let's see. It says there seems to be an increasing trend towards assessing students through exams. So this is not necessarily true. Actually, recently educators are moving more towards what we refer to as formative assessments rather than summative assessments. Formative assessment is a kind of assessment that happens during the term. Summative means one exam at the end of the course or the term or the semester, whatever you have. But because there is this claim, we have to accept it as a fact, right? So we go with that. Let's say like final exams are a common student assessment method that has gained favorability. Let's say gained favorability is a collocation. It means it has become more common. It's more commonly used, right? And favorability, again, F-A-V-O-U-R is Canadian spelling, F-A-V-O-R is American spelling. So right now, this is considering the American spelling, so we're just going to go with our Canadian spelling here. Has gained favorability as opposed to continuous assessment. Alright. Which happens during a course. Let's just make it a complex sentence here. Good. And now this was my background statement, so now I'm moving to the thesis statement. In my opinion, let's again make it a complex sentence with although. Subordinating conjunction, so now we have a subordinate clause. Although both methods have their benefits, continual assessment. So before I move on, here what is probably important and could be a common mistake is it says what are the advantages and disadvantages of exams as a form of assessment, right? So it doesn't talk about, it doesn't ask us to talk about continual assessment. So continual assessment is the kind of assessment that happens during the course. So for example, the teacher will give you a small assignment, a small quiz, a pop quiz, or a midterm, or a paper that you have to write, and the teacher will work with you to improve it. Things like that. Those are continual or formative assessment. But here it doesn't ask us about formative assessment. So now we have the option of, do we talk about continual assessment or do we just talk about exams? And if you look at the question here, it says, what are the advantages and disadvantages of exams? as a form of assessment, right? So then we have to stick with this, right? So here we can say, although both methods have their benefits, continual assessment seems to be the more sensible approach due to its accuracy and reliability. Okay, so initially this was my idea of the thesis statement, but then when I went back and looked at the question, I noticed that it is not asking me to talk about the advantages or compare two ideas, continual assessment against final assessment, against final exams, and then try to compare those two. It wants me to just talk about the advantages and disadvantages of final. So this would be a great thesis statement for that kind of discussion essay, right? But it's not a good thesis statement for this, right? So we have to change this and make it about final assessment, about final exams, all right? So I just wanted to show you what a common error, common mistake would look like when writing the thesis statement. So now when we are going to fix this, instead of this, we'll say, although final assessment, or yeah, final assessment can have a few benefits for teachers. And I generally don't like final assessment. I don't like final exams as a teacher. I try to stay away from them. So I'm going to talk about that. So in my opinion, there are more disadvantages than advantages. So that's why I'm keeping it as a complex sentence. Although final assessment can have a few benefits for teachers here, its drawbacks are too significant to overlook, let's say. Okay, so this would be a good thesis statement for this task 2 question. Now our thesis statement is about final assessment, and it talks about advantages and disadvantages, which here I paraphrased into benefits and drawbacks. And then, because this is your subordinate clause, that is the less important idea, and this is the more important idea. So my opinion here is that the drawbacks outweigh the benefits. So the disadvantages outweigh the advantages. It has not, in those exact words, asked me to weigh them against each other, but that is basically what you're supposed to do, because this is an advantage-disadvantage question very clearly, right? All right, so let me pause here and see if you have any questions about this. So now let's take a look at our planning here. So it says, what are the advantages and disadvantages? So what I am going to do is I'm going to advantages for one paragraph, okay, and then I'm going to talk about disadvantages for one paragraph, okay, and then I am going to give my own opinion in the end, okay, and then I'm going to keep, and then I'm going to have a conclusion too. All right. So that would be my planning. Advantages, one advantages paragraph, disadvantage paragraph, my own opinion, which one outweighs the other, and then a conclusion. Okay, you have the option of making the conclusion and the opinion the same, but that is something that we will decide when we get there. Do we have enough material to create a separate paragraph or not? So let's start with advantages. Let's hold the questions until I finish the advantages, and then we will give you an opportunity to ask your questions. So we can say final exams. Final exams are in vogue, maybe, are in vogue today because they are easy to administer for educators. Okay, so let me just fix this. Yeah, easy to administer for educators. But now I don't want to repeat the word teacher, so I'm going to say educators here. Busy instructors, so I don't want to repeat teachers or educators, so now I switch to instructors. Those are good synonyms of each other. Have much to do during the course of or let's not say this. Let's just say, because when we say they're busy, that means they have much to do. So that's a little redundant. So let's say busy instructors or busy instructors prefer them because they provide a clear, easy to understand quantified result or quantified grade that is let's move easy to understand here. Write a clear quantified grade that is easy to understand. Now it's not a compound adjective anymore, so that is easy to understand for both students and their guardians, let's say, means their parents. Okay, let me just expand this a little bit. I'm not done with this paragraph yet. Okay. Let's say in addition, so I'm not now introducing a new idea. It is convenient for teachers to mark one exam at the end of the course without having to worry about keeping track of several instead of several, say various assessments during our course. All right. Yeah. Or instead of various, let's just make it a little bit more clear. Make it several smaller assessments during a course. Right. So those are two benefits. Now let's see if we hit our word limit. If we don't, we'll come back and also talk about what it means for students. But briefly, we can say for students, students might also prefer to prepare for one final exam and be done with studying as opposed to being constantly constantly ready for assessment at all times during and in all classes. Okay, so let's stop this here. So that would be our second paragraph, first body paragraph, which was about advantages. So I looked at it from the point of view of teachers and also from the point of view of students. Also, again, remember that based on the band descriptors, there has to be a clear position throughout, right? So if you change your position, for example, if it looks like in one paragraph you're taking the side of advantages and in another paragraph you're taking the side of disadvantages, you're going to lose marks. You're going to lose task achievement marks and coherence marks. So here actually it's called task response. Task achievement is for task 1. So let me show you how that is done. So here we say, okay, for disadvantages, we try to keep a position that is the position of the drawbacks are too significant, so they outweigh the benefits, right? So we say, despite the above mentioned let's say the few above mentioned benefits, there are several issues that make final exams undesirable in the final assessment, or when we say in the final analysis, actually in the final analysis is a common term, and it's used in many different languages, which means like when you take everything into consideration. And you see I have a position here. I say, yes, I talked about the benefits, right? But despite those, the drawbacks are more significant, and they make final exams undesirable. Okay, so now I go into the meat of the matter. I will explain what those drawbacks are. Right. First, let's see. Final assessments are first and foremost not accurately do not accurately reflect student performance. Let's stop here. All right. For instance, if a student is not feeling well on the day of the exam, they may perform poorly, even though they might have been a hardworking student, or let's not make it matter, even though they might have worked hard during the course. Okay, so that's one issue. And then other students, so here I say other students because I'm trying to create cohesion, right? May feel nervous about taking let's say determinative final assessment that means all or nothing. And the nerves will certainly interfere with their let me just fix that, certainly interfere with their grade. Or instead of interfere, let's make it a little bit more clear. Certainly affect or impact their grade adversely or negatively, but adversely is more academic, so let's keep it like this first. All right, and so far I have 224 words, these 3 paragraphs, okay? So if I have 224, maybe I can have a separate opinion paragraph, all right? All right, so first let me see if you have any questions, and then I will write the opinion paragraph here. All right, so let's look at the opinion right now. So we can say based on the above remarks, I believe that final exams might be easy to administer and favorable to or not favorable, let's say preferable to students who would like to study hard at the end of the course. The disadvantages such as lack of accuracy and reliability make them undesirable forms, because we already said methods, forms of assessment in my view. Okay, and now for the conclusion, I can say all in all, although continuous assessment might be more difficult to manage, okay, there we go. For teachers, they are much more useful as opposed to much more useful than final assessments, and should be adopted more frequently. Okay, after all, education, this is my wrap-up, ought to be enjoyable, an enjoyable experience, not a nerve-wracking one. Okay, the one that where everything is decided in one exam in a few hours. Okay, so that would be my final essay. So let's see, how many paragraphs did I copy here? I copied 3 paragraphs. So let me copy this one to see how many words did I get to. So this is one, and this is the final one. Okay, I am at 325 words. So this is 325 words. That was the conclusion, so I'm just gonna delete this. So yeah, so it's a bit long. It could be shortened, but we have a good introduction. We have a thesis statement, and in the introduction, this is our background statement, right? This is background statement. This is the thesis statement, and then here, this is our topic sentence. All right, and here, this is our topic sentence. Here, it's all, I think, one sentence. And then in the conclusion, this is basically the rephrasing that I have done. This is a rephrasing, and then this is the wrap-up. Okay. Let's hear your questions now. It is always absolutely necessary for you to go back and read everything from top to bottom and make sure that everything is correct. And then you're going to be done with it. So always try to finish in about 35 minutes, and then the last 5 minutes should be devoted just to proofreading and making sure that these kinds of small mistakes don't happen. Right? But I think right now we have a good essay. We could easily get like an 8.5 with this. Yeah, I'm confident that this could get an 8.5. And if, the examiner is having a good day, maybe a 9. Who knows? But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I'm just going to stop the recording here and I'll take your questions.